Yep, so I'll just take 2/3 off of each stem. That's just to stop it rocking in wind, because if you don't do that, the plant can damage its root system, and at the same time it's giving us material for taking hardwood cuttings, semi-ripe cuttings as well, because it's still trying to grow because of the weather. So that's just neatened it up, and that'll protect it from any wind damage now. The wind, as you see, it was blowing before, now it's just still, so the wind's not going to damage that at all now, and then come the spring we'll cut it down even further. I've set up a greenhouse because you'll not... Yeah. Right, so we've come straight into the greenhouse from cutting back the buddleia bush, and we're going to try and take some cuttings to propagate it and get some free plants for next year. So we've got quite a long cutting there, so we don't need that full length. So what we're going to do is we can get 2 or 3 cuttings out of this one piece. I'll just get some compost into this square pot, just a good free draining compost. You can add grit or vermic you like, just to help with the drainage. We've got a length of buddleia here. We're going to get 2 or 3 cuttings out of this one length. You want them about sort of 4 or 5 inches long. So the first cut, if you cut straight across, you'll know that's the bottom end of the cutting, and I'll explain further in a minute. So we're going to take this top cutting, so I'm just going to cut it across there, just below that leaf node there. So just like that. And then what I'm going to do is strip off the bottom leaves, a good pair of secateurs, or you can just do it with a sharp knife. It needs to be sharp and clean. So just taking those leaves off. So where we've got the top there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the growing tip out, because I want it to develop into a bush. So if I take that growing tip out, the little side shoots should grow. If you want it just to grow upwards, just leave the growing tip in, which is the most vigorous part of the plant. But what I'm going to do is just take that out there, like that. And then we've got some rooting gel, which I've popped a little bit into this pot just for my own use. So I'm just going to give it a little coating on the bottom there. And all I'm going to do is pop a little hole in. I've got a dibber, but I forgot to bring it in. So just pop that into there, like that, and just gently settle it in. So another way of doing it, because we've now got more of a hardwood type cutting, same process at the bottom, so straight across at the bottom where the leaf is. Take those leaves out. It looks a bit long at the minute, but I'm going to trim the top off. So I'm just going to take those shoots out. And then at the top, because I don't want any water to run into it, I've left the 2 sets of leaves on. Obviously that's where it's going to shoot from. Yeah. So at the top there, I'm going to angle the cut. Okay. And I'm going to try and angle it so any water that lands on it runs away from the leaves to keep it dry. So you see how that's angled away. That, yeah. So that water there, if any water lands on that, it will just run away from the top end of the cutting. So again, you see that's again about 4, 5, 6 inches long. With hardwood cuttings, it's better if you take the growing tip out, because that plant will probably be in this pot for maybe 6 months till it starts to root properly. With hardwood, you'll find that it'll form a callus at the bottom end there before it actually starts to grow again, because it's fairly dormant at the minute because of the time of year. The plant will callus up, and then come next spring it should start to burst into life, and that's when you should start to notice that these leaves should start to grow. Because of the time of year, it's a bit funny really, because obviously with the weather being really mild as well, the plants are still trying to grow. Yeah. So some of the side shoots are semi-ripe, yeah. So like that was actually a side shoot from one of the main stems, and you can see it's still quite flexible. Okay. Yeah. So that's quite a soft semi-ripe cutting, whereas the stuff that we've just been taking, you can see there's no bend in that. That's a hardwood cutting. And with any garden, there's no guarantee that these will strike. By that I mean that they'll actually grow. But if you wanted to get at least 1 or 2 plants, I would take at least half a dozen, maybe 10 cuttings, just to hedge your bets, if you like. You know, gives yourself a better chance, lower probability. You can just push these into a border in a garden, and certain plants will grow quite happily outside. So same process, but just line them up in just in a normal border, in a normal bed in a garden, and you'll find that it might take maybe 2 years for them to actually establish as a plant, but as a rule of thumb, they are pretty successful hardwood cuttings. Roses are another good example of doing the same thing. And the other thing is, if you're taking cuttings, always try and either pot them up straight away and get them watered, or as soon as you take the cutting, pop them in a plastic bag to preserve the moisture. These have been cut, 5 minutes? You can see they're already starting to wilt. So that's the importance of doing it straight away. Once I've put this last one in, get it watered and get it in a bag to keep the moisture in. But again, if you're putting them into a garden, just give them a good watering straight away. And the fewer leaves that you can leave on, really, the better. So that one's probably the best example. And what I'm wanting it to do is to grow from both of these nodes. It may even grow from under some plants will grow from under the surface as well, right where the joint, where the first cut is, they'll even shoot from underground and come up. This is actually a gel. This is a really good one, this Seafeed one. So yeah, if you just dip it in, and then all you need to do is just tap it on the side of your pot, and basically that's all you're leaving on, and then that'll go into your growing medium. As I say, I'll give that a good water, seal it in a plastic bag for just a few weeks really, with hardwood cuttings, just to retain the moisture. That'll probably go into the cold frame or sit in the unheated greenhouse, and it might take it probably a year to establish into a proper plant, maybe 2 years even. It's a way of utilising wood that you would normally just compost. There's no guarantee that with any gardening that it will work, but with this stuff it gives you a better chance.